If you want some really bad news, while dreaming of living in those glorious periods of history, you'd actually pass out from the smell entering your nose because medieval Europe was a complete biological terror scenario, and under your knight's shining armor there was underwear that had turned into a mushroom forest, because it hadn't been changed for months. In fact, the armor was removed so rarely that some had lice and flea colonies established inside the armor. Yes, you heard right, armored lice palaces. But the real horror is that washing hands after using the toilet was considered a luxury because water was believed to carry disease and germs, so people avoided bathing like the plague. For example, French King Louis XIV boastfully said he only showered 3 times in his lifetime. Yes, the only place the Sun King shone was Versailles' ceiling. Therefore, because people urinated against the walls in the palace corridors, Versailles' dazzling and magnificent halls actually smelled like an open-air toilet, and that's why the perfume industry exploded. You see, the classic necessity is the mother of invention situation, but this time the necessity was not smelling your own filth. Moreover, nobles of that period had servants examine their feces to understand their health condition from the quality of their excrement. It was like a complete MasterChef poop edition. Victorian England was another nightmare because London's Thames River had literally turned into an open sewer, and during the 1858 Great Stink incident, even Parliament closed due to the smell. MPs covered the windows with chemical cloths, but to no avail. Those romantic streets you see in Mr. Dickens' novels were actually covered with fecal suspensions you wouldn't want to get even your shirt dirty in. And now let's get to dental hygiene. Ancient Romans used human and animal urine as toothpaste because the ammonia in urine really whitened teeth, so Julia Roberts' bright smile would literally be a piss smile in Rome. In medieval England, the cure for toothache was roasting mice and applying their ash to the tooth. Like Pokemon evolution, your medicine has evolved into a more savage and horrific form. Egyptians were professional at mummification, but amateur at hygiene, because during the mummification process, the brain was removed piece by piece by sticking a hook up the nose and stirring it, more disgusting than today's TikTok trends. Vikings shaped their hair and beards with animal fat, and because this fat went rancid over time, Viking warriors were literally walking garbage containers. Japanese samurai may be symbols of honor and discipline, but they didn't bathe before battle because they thought if they were going to die, they didn't want to die clean, a kind of I'm going to die anyway, why shower logic. During the Renaissance, makeup contained lead and mercury, so women were slowly poisoning themselves while trying to look beautiful. Queen Elizabeth's white face was actually like a poisonous mask, and her skin was so damaged she had to apply more makeup. In short, they were victims of their own beauty standards, just like the real-life version of today's Instagram filters. Renaissance Facetune, the version that kills you. And now, I'm dropping the bomb. Toilet paper wasn't invented until the end of the 19th century, meaning all those empires, all those civilizations, Caesar, Alexander, Napoleon, they all cleaned their butts with stones, grass, corn cobs, cloth pieces, broad leaves, or directly with their hands. Ancient Greeks wrote their enemies' names on the pottery shards they used as toilet stones so they could both clean themselves and get revenge. The ultimate throwing shit at you move. In French palaces, women put small portable pots under their skirts and dresses instead of going to the toilet and urinated directly into them during balls. Romans, meanwhile, gossiped sitting side by side in communal toilets because there was no concept of privacy or sense of shame. Imagine the guy next to you explaining the fall of Carthage while you're doing a push-up. A complete bros being bros moment, but the most disgusting version. Medieval doctors diagnosed by drinking their patient's urine, yes, they tasted it, while thinking, is this liver failure or kidney stones? They gargled with the patient's fluids in their mouths. Surgical instruments weren't sterilized, and the same blood-stained saw was used on every patient. Imagine the medieval operating room like a modern warfare multiplayer server, everyone infecting everyone with everything. Wigs were another disaster, because the insides of those massive wigs fashionable in the 17th to 18th centuries were filled with lice, and nobles carried special sticks to scratch their wigs. Some even put mouse traps inside their wigs because mice nesting was so common, so at royal balls there was a chance of a mouse falling from your head while dancing, like a dystopian prequel to Ratatouille. And those famous beak masks doctors wore during plague outbreaks weren't just to look scary. Spices and herbs were put inside the beak because they thought bad air spread disease. So when wearing a COVID mask, you have the luxury of saying, "Ah, the good old days," because at least you're not carrying a dead bird skull on your face. Now, just when you're about to say, "Okay, enough already, here I come." Menstruation hygiene. Throughout history, women used cloth pieces, paper, sponges, even animal fur, and none of these were washed regularly. In ancient Egypt, papyrus was used. Yes, the stuff hieroglyphs were written on. In the Middle Ages, women had to free bleed, meaning they let it flow naturally without using anything. Imagine such a scenario in your modern life, complete nightmare. And in light of all this, I must say, you sitting in front of the screen reading this right now probably showered today, brushed your teeth, used toilet paper, washed your hands, and you don't consider any of these luxuries. But from a historical perspective, you are literally a hygiene god. If you went to the Middle Ages, they'd try to burn you as a witch just for smelling good. Ironic, isn't it? They're the ones who stink, but you're guilty. So when Thanksgiving comes, be grateful for modern sewage, soap, shampoo, and yes, toilet paper, because in the alternative scenario, you're dancing at Marie Antoinette's balls while your corset is breaking your bones and you're trying to prevent lice from falling from your head. And by the way, that famous everything was more natural and healthy in the past myth is complete nonsense, because natural often meant infection, parasites, and early death. Average life expectancy was 30 to 40 years, and half of that was due to hygiene. So yes, maybe there were no chemical toxins back then, but instead there were real toxins, the toxins of your own filth. And now when modern minimalists say, "Let's live like our ancestors," I hope they don't mean Middle Ages-style bathless living, because then they'd get quickly banned from Instagram. In conclusion, history books show you knights, palace balls, glorious empires, but none of them note, by the way, they all smelled like hell and half were itching. So you can love history, respect it, but please don't say you want to live there because you'll change your mind at the first nose burn. And yes, we've come to the end of this video. I hope your view of your soap has changed, because that little piece of soap is your superhero, saving you from urinating on walls in Versailles corridors. Now go take a shower. Even take an extra shower, because being able to do this is a miracle in itself. And next time you say, "I wish I lived in the past," remember this video and think about how that romantic history fantasy broke your nose bridge. If you like this video, don't forget to hit like, because the algorithm gods also love hygiene. See you, and please wash your hands.